Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back. We are once again with you, Robin Sachs and Lindsay House, two coaches on a mission, and wanted to join you once again for the ABCs of 2022 success. If you've seen some of our previous lives or not, what we do is we are walking through the alphabet, and letter by letter, we are sharing with you letter specific things that you can do, take into your life to help you make 2022 your best year yet, whatever that means for you. Hello, Lindsay.
Oh, hi, Robin. So excited to be together again today.
Yay. Nice. So we actually have walked through and we are on J. So
Yes.
J was a little tougher. The other letters we came up with, oh, here's a whole bunch of things. J, we both went,
Hmm.
And
Yes.
hi, Mark. I saw you popped on. Hi, Mark. Benita, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, hello. Yes, I know. Do we just dive right in? I feel like we were talking about the J's that we're coming up with aren't deep thoughts. These are just things that we might already know and have a conscious level of thinking about, but need this little reminder today to take some action and move forward. So, Robin, I'm going to keep the floor over. You take it away for a minute and then I'll dive in with my J when you're done.
All right, I'll tell you what, I am actually going to start by kind of putting three out there fairly quickly because, as you said, these are not things you need to think a lot about. As a matter of fact, all of these things are about not thinking so much, not overthinking.
Yeah.
So the first is going to be jump. And when we talk about jump as one of our success words, what we're talking about is there are often times in our lives where we need to be making decisions or we need to be making choices of any kind. They could be something little, they could be something big.
Mhm.
However, we spend an inordinate amount of time typically thinking about them or talking about them. And at some point, the only time any of those things we're thinking or talking about are going to change is if we do something, if we jump. So that jump is imperative. So as you're going through your day, don't wait until huge decisions need to be made or big choices. Start right now thinking about where are some things in your life where you find yourself thinking or talking about the same things for a second, a third, a fourth, a 10th, a 27th time. And today, pick one of those things and just make the jump from where you are to where you'd like to be. Start small, and those little tiny jumps will get you really comfortable and confident with making those bigger leaps when those things do show up in life.
Yeah.
So, anything to add to that?
No, I'm loving it. I love this small. It doesn't need to be. I think people think when they think jump, it's like this huge, I'm going to quit my job or I'm going to, and sometimes we do need that big, like earth rattling jump, but most times it's not. Most times it's the small jumps and just keep practicing. And then it becomes easier and easier to take the next leaps. So, nope, keep
Definitely.
going.
And I'll tell you what, I'm going to bring another J in based on what you just said, Lindsay. Jostle. Sometimes
Mm.
you have got to jostle your life and shake it up, throw some elbows in your own life because it's so easy to get onto autopilot. It's
Yeah.
so easy to just get up and think the same thing over and over and even do the same thing over and over. And habits and autopilot can be helpful and serve us if they're with the right things.
Mhm.
But unless we pay attention and we actually make some intentional and deliberate choices by paying attention, we don't always know the things that we're consistently doing every day that are getting in our way and stopping us or holding us back from something that our words keep saying
Mhm.
we want to do. And then we go, I don't know why it's not working. The nice thing to know is more often than not, it's me that's stopping me. It's not everything outside of me that I think. That's where your control lies. And so in order to be able to find what you're on autopilot with, you have got to shake things up a little, jostle your life. And the analogy is an obvious one, is a snow globe, right? It sits there and it looks exactly the same, but when you rattle it up, you got to wait for things to settle or clear, right? Or if you're in a body of water and you're running around and splashing and moving, and all of the dirt, the stuff from there is all there. You can't see it. It becomes murky. But if you step out of the water for a few minutes and let it all settle, it's crystal clear and you can see everything. The common denominator there is you've got to shake things up to be able to get clarity. You can't just wake up one day and say, I'm going to get clarity. You've got to look at the things that need to be jostled. So feel free to grab your life today. If it suits you, grab it and just shake it up and just step back and let it settle and be really honest with yourself. And as things settle, say, that's helping me, that's not. What am I going to choose to do about either of those things? And that's where your power lies.
Oh, it's so true and so good. I feel like I have a sign in my kitchen that says, if I change nothing, nothing will change. And that's how I kind of feel about this whole jostling and shaking it up, is that we don't realize that it can be a silly change as just having tea instead of coffee and or taking a walk at a different time in the day. Again, we keep coming back to these small. It's not the grandiose things. And it's crazy. I was telling Robin before we jumped on the call that I got COVID over the last week, and it did my jostling for me. It has taken me and shaken my world for a minute. And it's interesting what I think I'm going to like continue out of it. I've taken coffee out all of a sudden because it wasn't tasting good. And then I'm like, you know what? I'm not getting like some of my weird anxiety jitters, or I'm not. So sometimes we need something external to come in and jostle us a little bit. But it can also be purposeful. And I don't think we all need COVID to do our globe shakeup. But it's a really good exercise to do. And however you want to get it done, you're going to be pleasantly surprised by what comes out of it if you can go into it with the right attitude of what you're trying to seek out of it.
And Lindsay, again, you just said something that just opened up kind of another piece to this. Is we don't realize sometimes that our choice is we can wait for something to do it for us, or we can take the initiative and do it for us. And again, sometimes you don't have control over it. Something happens and it slows you down, and boom, you don't have the choice. But if you think about, times in our real lives where if I don't like my job, for example, but I'm not going to quit or anything like that. I'm not in danger of being fired. But the greatest time to look for another job is when you don't need one, right? Because then you've put yourself in a place of choice. If something wonderful comes up that seems like it certainly would be a better fit for some reason, or you're looking to leave a more toxic type environment for you, take that control and be proactive with it. And, the thinking sometimes is, well, I don't need to look if I have something right now, whatever that is, right? Whether it's money, whether it's time, whether it's a job, whether it's support, those things can go away in an instant. And that puts us in a place where we're not in choice. We're not in control. And talk about the stress and anxiety levels shooting through the roof pretty quickly. Or an injury, right? We didn't take the time to do something ahead of time, right? I don't stretch. I don't have time. I show up right at the game and I jump in and start playing. Well, now an injury happens, and guess what? Could I have controlled that better by prepping myself a little bit better? The 5 minutes before the game made the difference between the 5 months now I'm out of the game or not. So sometimes there are things we can do that we've got to make sure we are not on autopilot, but again, shaking things up a little and actually asking ourselves, what could I do now that could shake things up a little, even if I choose not to take that action right now? Or what action do I need to take right now, even though I want to just go jump in and start doing something? And that has to do with being present, being in the moment. That's where your control lies. So we are in control of so much more than we think. Take advantage of that, because the things you can't control, you're not going to control, and that's okay. You're just going to have to work with that as it comes. Some of those things we can avoid by taking control on the front end. And the ones we can't are just great reminders. Hey, I got to do what I got to do to get to the other side of it. And that's okay too. So
that's good.
So thank you for bringing that up. All right. I have another one I'm going to throw out that's just high level. Junk. ditch the junk, take out the mental trash, take out the physical trash, take out the clutter trash. There is so much junk in our lives. And what I mean by that is, you know, when we talk about personal and professional development or getting into a better headspace and those types of things, we go, and I can't believe I'm of all people saying this, we always head toward the positive. What am I grateful for? What's going well? What do I need to focus on that's working? Those things you can never take away. Those are so imperative, and those are the things that are always going to get you to the next place or next step or next level. So you cannot ditch those. However, I also don't believe that we spend enough time looking at our junk. And what I mean by that is, it's wonderful to be grateful for all the things that we do have in our lives that are serving us. But I want you to switch gears. I invite you to switch gears today. And I want you to look at all the junk that is completely getting in your way and making this more difficult, or making this take a longer amount of time, because we're not ditching this stuff. And that junk can be what's happening up here. It could be I need to shift my self-talk, because as positive as I am and as intentional as I'm becoming with my life, if you're still negatively self-talking and criticizing yourself and bullying yourself, it's going to take a much longer time to get to what you want on the positive end. If you can mitigate some of the junk and either ditch it, it's like the physical space, right? Set up 3 boxes. This is to donate, this is to throw away, and this is to actually declutter, but put in its actual place instead of just letting it sit out so I see it every day. Start to really categorize your mental junk, not just your physical junk, and see how that gets you where you're going so much quicker.
Yeah. I know we all have it. I know that everyone listening is going to go, okay, I know where I need to go with that, whether I'm ready to or not, but we have it.
Exactly.
Yes.
So, all right. So take out the mental trash today. It's trash day.
Yes.
Trash day. Put it on the curb and walk away. Someone else will ditch it for you. All right. So, another one, and I'm gonna steal the slogan. We all know it. Just do it. All right. Just do it. And just to keep this real simple, there are things in our lives we think about nonstop. We talk about nonstop. We've thought about for years. We've talked about for years. Today is the day to stop talking about doing it, to stop thinking about doing it, and to just go do it. Because often when we do it, 2 things happen immediately. 1, it gets done. And usually, 2, we find out that we spent this much time thinking about doing it, and it took that much time to just do it.
So true.
And so if you take action 1, what you want to get accomplished is accomplished very quickly. And 2, your stress levels plummet. Not just go down a little, they plummet, right? I can look all day at my to-do list and go, oh, I feel so overwhelmed. Or I could say, look at my to-do list. I'm doing that first. Go do it. Check it off. I'm doing this second. Go check it off. And in an hour, your to-do list is done. But if I spend all day looking at it going, oh my goodness, I have so much to do today, you're going to be exhausted. And it had nothing to do with your list. It had to do with you thought instead of did. So just do it. One of the most powerful and simple J's I think there is.
I'm going to throw in, because I've got some clients who have started timing themselves on tasks. Just as a little tip to go along with the just do it is sometimes it's helpful to set a timer, see how long it actually takes you to do this task that is feeling so overwhelming. Because to Robin's point, it's not typically as long as we have it in our head that it's going to be. And so if you feel like that kind of makes your shoulders go, oh, maybe that would be helpful for me. There's some fun timers on Amazon that are more like color timers. There's just some ways to go about this where you can all of a sudden see your pie, like what does take up time in your day. And I think that if you go, oh, it's only 10 minutes, we come back to it faster the next time. So just do it and then just pay attention to once you've just done it, was it so much easier than you thought it was going to be? And again, it's all practice. It all builds on each other. And the more we do that type of stuff, the easier it continues to get. Yeah.
That's fantastic, Lindsay. Yeah.
I feel like am I cutting you off if I jump in and talk about?
Here's the ball. I'm throwing the ball to you. Take it.
It's funny, you and I thinking of Jays, and all of a sudden I was out walking my dog and I was like, jack of all trades, and how I picture each and every one of us wearing so many different hats in the day and feeling like we need to be the expert of each of those hats, you know. And I'm going to speak for women for a second, and this is not just women, this can be men too, but that feeling of being super mom or superwoman, and I'm going to be the jack of all trades. I'm going to rock it out at my career. I'm going to be the perfect chef in the kitchen and put this beautiful dinner on the table every day. I'm going to be my own personal trainer. I don't need to hire a trainer. I can do this. I know what to do. I'm going to be my own schedule keeper. I'm going to be the memory keeper. I'm going to make sure that all of these happy memories that we're all building are neatly put somewhere and displayed beautifully. You get where I'm going with this. We could keep going, but like we have this feeling of I need to be the jack of all trades. So one of my challenges to you today with this is to really take that and go, what am I expecting perfection out of myself? Which areas is that happening to me in? And where do I need to release that pressure or that guilt? Maybe I'm not the chef. Like maybe I need to start hiring that out a little bit and getting some other meals on the table. Or yes, I know how to show up and do a personal training session for myself, but am I doing it? Do I need to hire a trainer? Like where do we need to hire out? Where do we need to fire ourselves from? And accept help out of other areas. And maybe it's just asking for help. Maybe it's not hiring help. We just need to be a little bit better about asking. But I think that can be a huge detriment to people's success in their health journeys. And Robin, probably, I know you do more career and more confidence type coaching, that I'm sure that's a detriment in those areas as well, that we just need to release some of our to-dos and see where we can ask for help, and we're going to thrive within that, even though it doesn't feel like it. It's hard to do, but we do not need to be the jack of all trades. Okay. That's my tip for today. And my other one that was kind of falling off my tongue was jealous. And I was thinking maybe more like even envious or wanting of somebody else's, where they are in their health journey, that we can be feeling like, man, that person isn't working around an injury like I am, or that person only has 10 pounds to lose and I have 100, or that person's in the perfect job and I'm still seeking. And it just goes back to like, get those horse blinders on and really focus on where are you in this moment? You, not what your neighbor's doing, not what you even hear Robin and I doing, like, where are you? And that's your starting point. So that's that little area of eyes on your own paper. You got this, but you got to start where you need to start, not where somebody else is jumping off from. Any thoughts on any of that, Robin?
Oh, brilliant. Both of those. You know, what's the old saying, right? We think the grass is always greener, but the other saying is, of course, the grass is greener where you water it.
Water it. I love that.
And so it's not, there's another saying, the grass is greener on the other side, or it looks that way because it's fertilized with a lot of BS. When you get there, you realize that. So, but you know, the control part, because that second one you can't control, you jump and whoa, that's not what I thought it was going to be. The first one we mentioned was completely under your control. Your grass will be greener where you water it, where you tend to it, where you take care of it. And so if you want something, even if you look at someone else and go, I honestly, genuinely would love that, to do that, to be that type of person. Mm-hmm. Take the characteristics, the traits of things, not the people or the possessions. Take the traits and the characteristics and go, if I want to be that type of person, authentically and honestly, for real reasons, not fake reasons, what are the things I need to do to get there? And then go right back to you and start watering that lawn now. Don't stay outside of you. Don't stay looking at other people. Look at other people to gather who is the type of person I would like to aspire to be. What are those character traits? Water that. So you should be with you, tending to your grass more than anybody else's. And so that's something that, again, how can we shift that if we find ourselves looking at others going, I wish I had that. I wish I could be that. After, like you said, be honest with yourself. Don't compare apples to oranges, right? Because that's not being honest with yourself. Don't compare your chapter 18 to someone else's chapter 37 or your chapter 1 to their chapter 10. You have got to put things in perspective and be honest with yourself. The person who is at chapter 10 and much better than at something than you is because they were where you were. You are now at some point, and they started the journey. That's why they're better at it. If you start today and start working towards it, you'll be better at it too. It's that simple. Don't think beyond that. That's how you do anything. So I love that. Definitely. The jack of all trades, anytime I work with an entrepreneur and inevitably one of the first things that comes out about stress and confidence, what's bringing my confidence down and pushing my stress up is, well, I'm wearing so many hats. And my first question is, why? Yeah. Why do you honestly think you have to wear that many hats? And if we sit back and think about it, because on the surface, it's easy to say, well, what do you mean? I run my business and I run my household and I have to do this and I have to do my accounting and my billing and I have to make calls to get clients and I have to schedule clients. What do you mean? Why am I doing that? I have to. And when you sit back and really start sort of analyzing a little bit, what if you dumped this today? Would that help or hurt? And you start to peel away kind of the layers of the onion, and what you start to realize is, no, there are like 3 things I have to do as a business owner. I can work smarter, not harder. I don't have to do 17. And once those 3 turn into 5, I don't have to do 5. Maybe this first one, I do get somebody else to do. I can bring someone in, or once a month, I can hire someone to walk in and do this one time, right? Or maybe I can wear my hat differently. Maybe instead of every week having to focus on this, once a month, I can sit down and schedule 2 hours and do that one time. So when you start, there's that jostling again, right? Mm-hmm. How can I work smarter, not harder? What can I give myself permission to go? This isn't, for example, a revenue generating thing. I don't have to do this right now if my goal is to generate revenue. These 2 things generate revenue. I'm going to focus for the next 6 months on these. End of discussion. This stuff can go away. When I want to bring it back, if I choose to, I can. But it doesn't have to happen. And sometimes talk about jostling. That's easier said than done, because we truly believe we have to do everything. It goes back to what you were talking about. Give yourself permission to not do everything. I guarantee things will still get done. Mm-hmm. They will. And if you focus on what do I need to do versus what do I want to do or what do I think I have to do, you'll see that this often takes care of everything else. Or you find that these things didn't even need to be done in the first place, or someone else picks up the slack. It's amazing how that works. So give yourself permission, again, not to just go, I'm not doing anything anymore. That's not what we're saying. But we're saying get confident and get secure, to give yourself permission to say, here's what I need to do. I'm going to focus and do those things because that's going to get me what I need. And I'll give you just a quick example of that. I've had on my habit tracker, right? I have certain things, and every 3 months, once a quarter, I look at my habit tracker and I go, are these all things I want to and feel I need to keep doing? Mm-hmm. Because sometimes it's like, well, I'm just doing this to check it off the list at this point. It made sense a year ago. I'm just on autopilot now, but do I really need to do that? No, it's not getting me ahead, or I've already reached the point I wanted to reach by doing it as a habit. I don't need to keep doing it now. But maybe there's something else new that I want to add to really start moving towards. So again, there's that jostling. Just keep checking in with yourself. Keep shaking things up. Keep being honest with yourself. And all of these things, we said Jay was tough, but my goodness, we had no problem.
We had no
no problem. Isn't that amazing? And one that I just have to, I think we should end with, just because it came up and on LinkedIn, people have commented about it. An obvious one is joy. You have got to find the joy in your life. And sometimes that's easier to do. Sometimes that's harder to do. However, there's always joy sitting there somewhere with you, whether it's within you or it's outside of you. Ideally, it's both. That's something to strive for. So find your joy. It's so easy to fall into complaining about things when things are just not going well. Even when that's happening, because that's valid and real, and you've got to acknowledge that stuff. Always come to that other side and go, yes, that's all going on, but what's one thing that I'm really grateful for right now? And remind yourself of that, because it will keep you in a place of being able to be in a place of choice instead of being pulled somewhere and feeling a bit more out of control.
You can't feel grateful and hateful at the same time, right?
I think that's a great way to sum it up.
Yes. And Robin and I actually will be back with you next Wednesday on LinkedIn again together. I believe it's still at 10 o'clock Eastern time. I'm so sorry. I have dogs wrestling.
Hi, baby.
I should grab one, because the one, it looks like a Sesame Street character. I'm babysitting.
Okay, now I'm curious. I have to see.
I gotta grab.
Okay, I'm guessing what Sesame Street character is it? Is it Oscar? Is it?
Well, does this look like the? Do you remember the Shabby Dog?
Yes.
I feel like every time I see this dog, I'm like, what Sesame Street? Anyways, okay, I digress.
That brings us joy. Thank you for bringing.
Yes, doggies do bring us joy. They do. And I've got two of them. So, okay. I think our big takeaway today is the jostling, that people need to, I'll just let them fight. They need to walk out of this. I'm so sorry. They need to walk out of this and take the jump to jostle their life, let things settle. I love that visual of let things settle and see where you need to go. So because we'll be back so soon next week already, like take this 1 week and use it as an accountability week. Please take something that Robin and I have said today and run with it, knowing that we'll be right back next week. And then let's assess how that went and then pick something else again and run with it. Because we keep promising you this, but we have a whole alphabet that we're going through right now. And if you can hang in there with us through the alphabet and make changes every week, you're going to come out of this jostled. You'll be new. You will have the change that you are seeking. So thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. And as always, thank you, Lindsay. It's always a blast. And we will see everybody next week when we're on K. Have a great week, everyone. Bye-bye.